Welcome back to the Rock of Jericho. On the line with me right now, one of the greatest singers, not just in heavy metal, but ever in rock and roll. Geoff Tate is here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Chris. Thanks, man.
I appreciate you you calling in. You're calling in from lovely, snowy Seattle, you said.
Yeah, we got the winter weather going on up here. It's kind of nice, refreshing from the rain,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, I used to live in Vancouver, and if it wasn't rainy, it was the snowy, but like the wet snow, where it was kind of like sleet type stuff. The Pacific Northwest, so beautiful.
Yeah, typically it's like that, but we're having like really cold weather. It's like in the 20s,
Well, yeah, but it's cool that you're actually home, because I know you were on the road for quite a long time supporting your new solo record, Kings and Thieves. How long have you been back for?
Let's see. I think my last show was New Year's. Yeah, so a couple weeks now.
Okay.
Yeah, we played a show together in
we did.
Long Island. Yeah,
which was
with your band. That's great.
Yeah, it was great. It was actually literally days before Hurricane Sandy came. I don't even know if that club is still there. I mean, I know that Long Island just got destroyed. That was right at that time.
That's right. Yeah, we got out of New York just as it hit and got sort of the wind. We got
right
kind of stuck in the wind, and it did some damage to our tour bus. But
really?
We survived. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you just never know what you're going to get when you go on the road. That's the thing. And like, who would ever guess? Okay, we've got this tour booked all up, the New York area, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, whatever. And then, of course, 3 days before a hurricane comes.
Well, it's all part of the adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know what you're going to get. Yeah,
exactly.
You're really subjected to the weather and whatever's happening, and it's amazing that tours even come off and work. Because there's so many obstacles to overcome. But somehow it all happens.
It all does.
You have to roll with it, make the best of it.
How was the tour? It was very cool to see you in a solo atmosphere. Is that the first full-fledged kind of solo tour that you've done?
No, it's my second, actually.
Okay.
My second. And, I had a great time, pretty extensive tour. I think we traveled 26,000 miles on that tour.
Wow.
Went all the way from, West Coast to East Coast, back to West Coast, and then back to the East Coast again. We finished off in Florida, actually, for the Shiprock dates.
Oh, okay.
It was like the end of our tour, and then we had one date after that for New Year's.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a great tour. Had a really good time. Met a lot of really cool people. Saw a lot of friends, and had some great times.
It was cool.
Touring, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's such a cool vibe, like you said, to actually be out there, and the point of that you can actually pull it off. Which, like you said, there's so many obstacles when you actually get out there and go. Because the fun part of music is playing it. It's the business part of it that's the drag of it, right? It
is. Yeah, and so oftentimes, as musicians, we leave that up. Business stuff up to other people to handle. It's too frustrating, and it's too much work. Gosh, to do a show, it takes a lot out of you. You know how it is. It's very physical, especially for singers, and drummers. Guitar players, I think they can operate on a little sleep, and if they're sick, they can still play. But for singers and drummers, we have our bodies are our instruments, so we have to keep in shape and try to stay healthy and not get sick.
Absolutely.
It's really a challenge because every day you're in a different place and you're meeting new people and you're shaking hands with people, and you're just subjected to every kind of cold and virus that's spread that spreads around, and you got to keep yourself healthy.
Well, and what exactly do you do? Because like you said, if you start feeling that cold, especially you talk about Seattle weather, or if you go to England or Europe, how bad European weather can be, especially at this time of year. Is there anything that you try to adhere to as far as little rules to try and not get sick?
I think that if you think about it too much, then you kind of bring it on.
Yeah.
So I really kind of ignore it and just try to get enough sleep, get enough rest. Don't drink too much. Keep kind of a moderate lifestyle, and it seems to work for me. I stay pretty healthy.
Yeah, well, you just can't put yourself in those positions. You don't go to a club where you got to yell loud or where it's smoky, or like you just said. I think sleep is the most important thing. It's I did a show once, a TV show, and Smokey Robinson was on, and I saw him in the corner, and he was eating lemons. And I thought, oh, I wonder, is that like his secret? Is that the secret remedy? So I went over to him and I said, Smokey, I see you're eating lemons. Is that for your throat? And he goes, no, man, I just like eating lemons. So it's like,
yeah.
You
well,
know,
a lot of good source of vitamin C, you know.
Well, there you go, right.
You know, keeps you healthy, you know.
Cleanse the palate, yeah.
Smells good.
yeah, totally, right. So Kings and Thieves was the new record, and it was cool. Like I said, I saw you playing a lot of songs from that record, playing saxophone at certain points in time, just doing some different things that you hadn't really done a lot of before. How was what was your mindset when you were writing the Kings and Thieves record? Was it to try and do something a little bit outside of the box, or was it more just wanting to do something a little bit more just you, or how was that thinking?
Well, I'm always trying to get outside the box, you know. It's a frustrating thing for, you know, writers and songwriters because, you know, we're always looking for new stuff to do, you know, new ways to stretch out and, you know, new horizons, you know, new challenges. But oftentimes the audience doesn't want you to do that. You know, they really want you to do what they want you to do, what they're comfortable with. And I think it's the artist's job to keep pushing that, you know, pushing that box open, you know, so you don't get boxed in too much. And so, I kind of always approach every record like that. You know, I just try to imagine, you know, what I want to try to do and then try to figure out how to do it, you know. And one of the things I've always wanted to do is make a record where it was very spontaneous. You know, so many records I've made in my career, they're just a labor-intensive piece of work where you rehearse it and you produce the heck out of it, and it loses a lot of spontaneity. You know, and I've never really known how to make a spontaneous record, and this one, Kings and Thieves, became that. You know, it was written very quickly, simply because I just worked at my own pace, and it was all just kind of happening. And so what I did is I made a conscious decision to kind of stay out of my own way, you know, and not spend, you know, days and months and you know, sometimes years you spend on records. I chose not to go that route, and I tried to just make a record that just happened, you know, and record, you know, first, second, third takes and leave it at that, and just you know, going in with that kind of mindset, and it really worked. And that's really what the record is. It's really spontaneous and adventurous at times, and other times, you know, very subdued. It has a lot of different, I guess, different variances on it. You know, different flavors on it. But it's very rock. You know, at the same point, at the same time. Well, and I'm very happy with it. Very, very pleased with that.
Well, and it turned out great. And like I said, you said a really good point too. I mean, some of my favorite bands and some of the greatest bands in history never were the same. From, you know, Pink Floyd to the Beatles to even the Stones and Zeppelin, they always changed up, you know, little elements of what they do. And so I think when originally, you know, you go do a show and they see Geoff Tate with a saxophone around his neck, it probably takes people a little bit by surprise. But till you realize that you're still playing, you know, the music that you love, and it's still music that the fans will like. It just takes a little while to get them to realize it's okay. I'm just doing something a little different, but it's still me.
It's okay. You know, your life will go on.
Yeah, it's all right. Just give it a chance, listen to it a few times, and you'll dig it. You know?
Yeah. And that's the way music is. You know, it's not something that you know, you get right off the bat. You know, maybe you'll be attracted to something, but the more you listen to it, the more you get into it, and the more you understand it, and the more you feel the passion from the artist. You know, and that's what's always moved me about music is seeing, you know, and experiencing what the artist experiences, and that's. To me, that's the goal of it all, you know, is to communicate that passion, you know.
Yeah, and I always found that the best records are the ones that you had to listen to a few times to really understand it. You know, I remember when the Black Album came out, I hated it at first, and then it's like I listened to it a bunch of times and start understanding the genius of it, you know. What is your what's your favorite song from Kings and Thieves?
Oh,
today. It's hard.
I don't really have a favorite one.
What's one of the ones that you think would be that you'd like people to hear maybe?
Well, there's a song called "Take a Bullet" that seems to people relate to very quickly when they first hear it. I like that one quite a bit. That was one of the first ones I wrote the record, actually.
Okay, well, let's check it out. From Kings and Thieves, Geoff's second solo record, This is Take a Bullet, Tate and Jericho, right here on XM 164.
Paybacks are a bitch sometimes.
Yeah, I like the style of this record. Like you said, it's a rock record, but it's different from what you've done before, which is what you want. It's your solo record, and that's the idea of it. Like you said, to be outside of the box and to do something a little bit expanding what you usually do.
Absolutely. So are you doing a new record now?
We did a new record. It came out in August. And it's done really good. So we've just been touring on that since then. We're kind of both repped by the same. We're on Century Media. I know you're on Inside Out. Paul Gargano's both our A&R guy. So yeah, I mean that's the thing when you do a new record. It's always. I mean the whole process of writing and recording, singing it, trying different things is one part of it, and then going out and actually selling it to the people and playing it live is the other part. So it's a really cool vibe when you do the whole tour cycle to see what songs go over live from the record that you just did.
Yeah, and I see kind of a pattern that happens is that when you release a record, people aren't familiar with it,
right?
And you are, you're very intimate with it, and you're very excited about it, and you want to present it live. And oftentimes it takes a couple years for the audience to catch up to you. So the next time you go and you play songs from that record, they're familiar with them now, and they appreciate them more.
Well, yeah, and they've had life experiences surrounding it too. If you're going to play, Eyes of a Stranger or something, that's like 25 years of people listening to that song and relating to it. So obviously those songs will be the ones that people react to more because they're the classics,
Right.
So let's talk about the early years of Queensryche. I mean, obviously, when you guys first came out, like in '83 or whenever it was, I had never really heard a voice as distinctive as yours. I mean, obviously, you had a Bruce Dickinson or a Halford that kind of had that high operatic sound to it, but yours was always different. Was it something did that help Queensryche kind of break out of the pack, do you feel, right during the early days of the band?
Well, I don't know. I think it was a combination of that and, just the songwriting itself. There was an excitement about, the band starting out that a lot of people felt. And, we had a great team of people behind us, a record company that had a lot of promotional money to put into the band. And, it was just like all the stars aligned, for that period of time. And, we had some wonderful opportunities from several established bands that took us on the road and helped us, establish ourselves. Such as Ronnie Dio, for example. He was one of the guys that was instrumental in getting us started. And gave us our first tour of Europe, and that's always been really amazing to me. When you take an opening act out with you, you're offering up your audience for them, and how they handle themselves is how they learn and how the future can pan out for them, and I always really respected the headliner bands that gave us a shot at exposing ourselves to their audience musically, and always was very respectful of that opportunity because it's rare. It is rare.
Yeah.
And even more rare today,
Well, I think that this is a great quote that someone told me. The days of taking your friends out on the road are over. Now it's all, like you said, dollars and cents and business and, who can, obviously you want to draw the best crowds, but sometimes it seems like back in those days, if you had somebody that you really believed in, you could take them out and give them more of a shot,
Yeah, exactly. Well, my wife manages this Irish band called the Voodoos, who are a young rock band. And
we played with them. We played with them in Cork and Dublin about 2 months ago. They told us that your wife was their manager.
Yeah. Well, great band, And,
they were really good.
We brought them out on the Queensryche tour in 2011 to open for us. And so many times, we have had opening acts and our audience is just hateful towards them, closed-minded, not interested, whatever. But the Voodoos, the audience loved. First band in years that I've seen get an audience reaction in front of our audience like that, I was so happy, that they went over so well. And they're a great band, and I think they're going to have a wonderful future.
That's cool. Like I said, I forgot that they had opened for us in Ireland, and like you said, that's a perfect example of that. And you need someone to give you a chance. Now, I don't know. Did you read or hear about Dee Snider's book that he just put out about 6 months ago? He had a great story in there about how they pulled up in Kansas City and you guys were opening for Twisted Sister, like, I don't know, 84, 85. And I guess you guys had a good record company push. And he said that they pulled up in a beat up van and there was this really nice tour bus in front of the club or whatever, in front of the venue. And he's like, who's that? It's like, oh, that's the opening band. It's like, what? We're headlining in this crappy van and they got a nice bus. I guess, but it's cool that I guess you guys had a good push from the record company right off the bat too, which always helped.
We did. Well, we signed with EMI, which was a powerhouse back then. And actually, that was our first tour, was with Twisted Sister. We went from opening up for a band called Zebra, and then we went and jumped on the Quiet Riot tour where they had Metal Health out at the time. And then we jumped onto the Twisted Sister tour and then Ronnie's tour in Europe. So that was our first tour. That was in 1983, actually. And Twisted Sister was touring around in a beat-up van, and they never let us live that whole thing down about the tour bus. In fact, they used our tour bus. We, invited them on, and they rode with us through some shows because the guys needed some sleep, and we had an extra bunk, and it worked out good. They were a great band too, still are.
A great live band, yeah, exactly. But no, it's cool because you guys always had tours, and the thing I always liked about Queensryche, because you guys seem like, not that a lot of bands would have any aversion to, but you toured with everybody. I remember I saw you open for AC/DC, which was an interesting bill. Yep. It just seems like you guys were fearless, or your agents or record companies fearless, and just putting you out there with everybody. How was it touring with AC/DC? A little bit of a different vibe?
Oh, it was great. That was one of the best times ever. That band is a fantastic band, a fantastic bunch of people. And, they treated us like gold. Always very, very considerate, and they're one of those bands that was so confident. They didn't have any limitations on what we could do. They said,
gotcha.
Have the whole stage, whatever lights you need, full sound, no problem. They were they were very confident in their own abilities. So they never limited us. And actually, we toured with them on 2 tours, twice, and at different times, and each time was great. They're fantastic guys.
Yeah, it was interesting because that's when you guys, obviously, Warning came out, amazing record. You kind of had a style and a look. And then Rage for Order came out, and there was a whole different, it was like more of a gothic type thing. Obviously, it was the 80s, so all of us had some interesting fashion choices and hairstyles. But I just remember there was a conscious decision there for Queensryche to kind of go to this different vibe. What was the story behind that?
Let's see if I can remember. I think it was, we were new and just starting out, and just kind of trying to find ourselves, really. And that album, Rage for Order, was, I think, sort of our birth, really, of who we were.
Yeah.
Previous to that, we had sounded a bit like, our influences of the time.
Sure.
And Rage for Order was the first record we did that was really us, And I think we were looking for a visual identity to help, go along with the music that we had created. And it was interesting time. We were really trying to push the envelope then.
Yeah.
In an area that was really starting to be kind of everybody was kind of looking the same and sounding very similar, and talking about the same kind of subject matter in the songs, and we were trying to distance ourselves from that and do something, I guess, different. Something that we had imagined, and just trying to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then we found out after that during that tour and that fashion statement that it was so much work. We said, screw that. Let's go with t-shirts and jeans. It's much easier.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, that you say that, because there was a real shift. Like you said, Warning, it was kind of a more Maiden Priest influence thing. But Rage for Order, like you said, that's where you could kind of see. Like, I never really considered Queensryche to be a prog rock band per se, but that's when you started seeing some I guess, outside the box, different things from what were going on at that time frame.
Yeah. Well, it was an exciting time in music in general. And so we, of course, were pulling from, a lot of different influences at that time. And really, like I said, just finding ourselves musically, finding our niche, that was us, that we felt comfortable with. And Rage for Order was really the beginning, the beginnings of that.
The next step. When you think of Rage for Order, what song pops in your head?
Oh, let's see, probably Walk in the Shadows, I guess. Noye Regal, Screaming in Digital. Those are probably my three songs that come off the top of my head.
I love Screaming in Digital. Let's check that out. From Rage for Order, one of the coolest Queensryche songs with an amazing title, Screaming in Digital. I love it. Right here on XM 164. My favorite part of that song is the end. Screaming in Digital! Just like crazy scream. It's funny. I was just writing.
It's got some good parts in it. Yeah, I always like the keyboard synth line that goes through the first section. It's this weird timing and a very cool sound as well.
Very much.
And very difficult to lock into that rhythm. I remember writing the song. It's one thing to write something, right? But it's another thing to perform it. And so performing that song took a while, of rehearsals to be able to feel comfortable with it, because it's kind of a I don't know, a math theory problem. It's got all these different time signature changes and weird shifts that happen.
It's cool because, like you said, there was kind of like I really got not a computer vibe about the lyrics. Like there was Screaming in Digital and I Dream in Infrared and stuff like that. It just seemed like some of the lyrics were just like very like you're going to some different places than singing about Warning and Deliverance and Queen of the Reich type stuff too.
Well, at that time, we'd just come out of doing the Warning album, where it was the first time that I'd ever used a computer. And I became just obsessed with computers and how they work and the possibilities of them, and what the future could hold, and so that kind of technology was just in my head at the time, and I just found it to be a wonderful subject to write about.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I just was writing some lyrics the other day. I was inspired to write something. I actually used "I Dream in Infrared" in my lyrics, so I'll give you a couple cents royalties for it.
Well, now I'm really intrigued how you use that. Yeah, that's kind of a mouthful,
Yeah, I'll send it out to you. So then, obviously, I mean, Queensryche, you had so many kind of big moments and big records. For me, it was always Operation Mindcrime, and not just the music and the tunes and everything about it was the perfect record, the perfect concept record. Where did that story come from? Was that your concept and your idea and your storyline?
Yeah, it was. Well, my writing partner, Chris DeGarmo, we'd been talking about doing a concept record for a couple of years. We were both, Pink Floyd fans and Beatles fans, and I turned him on to, I guess they called it art rock back then. Bands like Yes and Genesis and Gentle Giant and these kind of bands. And I took Chris to see Peter Gabriel's Security tour, and he was really influenced by it. Okay. And so we'd been talking about, wanting to write an album that was a story. And so that was kind of in our minds at the time. And we'd finished the Rage tour, and I stayed in Montreal with some friends, and pretty much moved there for a period of time. And I was hanging out in Montreal. It was winter, snowy, really cool place actually to be. And I went down to the corner store to get some groceries one night, and I saw this Catholic church across the street, and I just had this feeling that I should go inside. And I went inside, and it was all warm and kind of hazy because they had all the candles lit, and there was a choir that was singing, practicing for some upcoming event. And I just sat there listening to the choir, and I had this idea, so I pulled out my notebook, and I just wrote the story right there. And I probably hung out in the church for about an hour, wrote down all my notes, and I went home and started writing some music that I was hearing at the same time. The music turned out to be the title track, Operation Mindcrime. And I worked for about a few weeks on the idea and the story, kind of outlining it and then fine-tuning it. And then in March, I came back to Seattle, and I met with Chris, and I said, I think I got an idea for the story thing we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. So I presented it to him, and we started writing the music that would become Operation Mindcrime at that point.
It's such a great story, too. I'm sure the priest thought you were crazy. Who's this guy? Who's this long-haired taking notes in the back?
Yeah, this long-haired guy in a leather jacket sitting in the back of the pew, scribbling furiously in a notebook.
For an hour. But, it was really interesting because, obviously when that record came out, and starting to really understand it by old school, take out the album and read the lyrics off the dust sleeve. There was no internet or no chat rooms to really discuss or kind of get some insight on what the story was. And I honestly remember debating for hours on end at parties or in someone's basement, like who killed Mary, like who did it. There was such an intrigue about it. The mystery behind it was really cool too, because that's something you didn't really get. Like whenever you could listen to music and get something more psychologically out of it, that was always really interesting to me. And I love the fact that we never really knew for sure, obviously now we do, but who killed Mary? Was that something that you wanted to leave as a secret on purpose?
Yeah. Well, the whole thrust of the story was that it was a two-part story.
Oh, okay.
And we left Mindcrime 1 unfinished, basically, in the story department, in order to come back and finish it out with another record. And I wish at the time that we would have done that, but we got onto which was our process back then, is that we wanted to do something different. So we ended up doing Empire, which of course was a good album, and very proud of that too. Yeah. But it just took us a long time to finally finish the Mindcrime story, and present it again. But it was intentionally left with that mystery basically hanging there for years and years and years.
That's cool. There's a wrestler in the WWE called Kane. He's about 6'8". He wears a red mask, and his characters. He's nuts, but he's super smart. And I always used to debate with him who killed Mary. So if you ever see Kane, you'll know that he was a guy that was also curious as to who killed Mary.
I've met a lot of people like that have asked me that question and talked to me about it. And that's one of the things I love about music. I love having conversations with people about the music, and hearing their stories about, what they were doing the first time they heard the music, or how it affected them, or what they think the songs mean, because as a writer, you have an idea of what you're saying, and you have an intent,
Yes.
But oftentimes that intent is not conveyed to everyone the same way, because people hear music differently, and they definitely interpret lyrics differently based upon typically their own life experience, And so I've had some really interesting conversations about what the music means to people, and I love that. I love hearing their opinions and their thoughts about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, music is art, right? And anytime you create a piece of art, it's going to mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And whether it's a painting or a book or whatever it may be, it's always cool, like you said, when you hear the different interpretations. What does it mean? Well, what does it mean to you? What do you think it means? That's kind of always something that what we do.
Yeah, I used to, when I first started writing, I got a little offended at that because, I thought, oh my God, I must not know what I'm doing here because it's not translating to people. They're not understanding what my intent is. And then through time, I realized that, it's just impossible. You can't expect people to all be on the same page at the same time.
Exactly. Well, let's listen to a track from. See, the thing about Operation Mindcrime, like, I remember when I was a kid, I used to make a lot of mixtapes, and it was hard to choose just one song from Mindcrime because to me it was a complete piece of music from beginning to end. So it was hard just to choose one song. It must have been hard to pick singles for that record.
Yeah. Well, it was written with that in mind as a continuous story.
Sure.
And one of the things that always cracked me up was our record company, EMI at the time. They really wanted to make "Sweet Sister Mary" a single.
Oh wow!
Off that record, and it's a 10-minute song.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to edit it and change it all around, and make a a 3-minute song out of it.
That's the worst, right?
I always said, look, there's several songs on the record that are going to be really great singles for you. Why don't you use one of them?
What's a song that you like from that record that wasn't a single?
Oh, well, I like every song, really.
Of course, right. Which one do you think could have been a big hit single if that wasn't released as one?
That would have been a hit single?
Yeah, I mean, obviously
I
you had...
don't know. Yeah, I gave up trying to predict what a hit single is years ago. There's too many variables, I think, I think, the purpose of music isn't so much economic,
Sure.
It's art and it's inspiration and it's there to inspire people and to get them to think, about their own life or about somebody else's life. And so, that's how I go into it. At least that's my thinking.
I was just trying to get you to pick a song, but since you're having, since it's hard to choose one,
since I'm having a hard time picking a single, okay.
let's do "Spreading the Disease." Always a good one. Very fast, fast riff, great tune, great singing. Right here from Operation Mindcrime on XM 164. Yeah, I always like to let the guys pick the singles or pick the songs that we play, like whoever my guest is. But it's hard to say like what's your favorite song or over and over again, because as a musician, all of your songs are your favorite songs. It's like, who's your favorite kid? Like, they're all my kids. I love them all. It just depends what mood you're in, right? But so you're getting ready to go on the road. Obviously, the split with Queensryche happened. You're going out on the road now with a new Queensryche. Is it officially going to be called Geoff Tate's Queensryche? Is that what we need to look for?
I don't know really what it's officially going to be called other than Queensryche. Yeah, it'd probably just be Queensryche.
Okay, so Queensryche, and I'm sure we'll know that Geoff Tate is involved with this. You put together a really cool lineup of guys. Who's in the band in your Queensryche band? I know, but tell the people.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, we have dates that start March 24th, and I'm incredibly excited about this. This is going to be a really fun time. I love collaborating with different people.
Right.
I love playing music with different groups of people, having people sit in. In fact, I kind of have this open door policy whenever I'm on the road, that any musicians, that I know call me up and say, hey, I'm in town. I always invite them down to play.
Right.
Jump up on stage, we'll play a song. If they know one of our songs, that's cool. If we want to jam on somebody else's song, that's cool. I've had some great experiences with that, especially...
Sure.
The best experiences are when you don't get to rehearse and you just make it up on the spot. I love that kind of improv stuff. So this situation going out with the new Queensryche lineup is really special for me because I get to pick guys I want to play with.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've got Kelly Gray, who has toured with me before in Queensryche.
That's right. He was in Queensryche.
Actually toured on my solo record with me.
Mm-hmm.
Who's one of my oldest friends. He and Randy Gain is on keyboards.
Cool.
Two guys
he was on your solo tour
music
too.
With all my adult life, just about. And I got Rudy Sarzo, who's one of my favorite human beings. In fact, you know Rudy really well.
Great guy. Great guy.
And Bobby Blotzer on drums, who I've known for years. In fact, we toured with Rat many times over the years. And the second guitar player is Rudy's brother, Robert Sarzo, who's another fantastic guitar player and really cool human being. So we're
cool.
all jazzed to start the tour. March 24th is our first date.
That's exciting. And I know, at least from what I've heard, you guys will be doing Mindcrime in its entirety on that tour?
Yeah. Well, it's the 25th anniversary of Mindcrime this year.
Yeah.
So I wanted to really go out and play that record, and give it its, kind of honor it. It's a special record for a lot of people and definitely special for me. And it being the 25th anniversary, it seems appropriate,
Absolutely. Well, like you said, it's a special record. It'll be a special tour for you. And hey, man, I really want to thank you for doing this show. It's been a great time. It's been a lot of fun to talk to you. And I can't wait to see the new lineup and to hear you sing the whole, Operation Mindcrime record in its entirety, man. It's going to be very, very cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it, man. And again, Chris, thanks for the opportunity to come on your show and chat with you. My pleasure.
Man. hopefully we'll get a chance to play together again, and we won't get stuck in a hurricane next time.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to play a song together. That'd be fun.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, it would be an honor. Thank you, Geoff. It's been very, very cool, and I really appreciate it.
All right, take care of that.
Right.
Thanks again.
See you soon, man. We'll be right back after this with more Rock of Jericho.